Photography in my youth, it wasn't overly accessible to everybody. Now, we all have cameras. We carry them in our hip pockets.
I feel like when I go to pick up a camera, I'm documenting a moment that can't be recreated.
What I like to do is to slow down and to think through, what is it about this minute, this scene, that I want to carry forward in my memory? I'm honing in on the very part of the scene that I want to preserve. And when I choose then to process and print that photograph, hang it on my wall, it brings me right back to that moment.
I remember in January of 2017, looking at my dwindling bank account, and I said, I'm either gonna have to find another corporate job, or I have enough money I could just figure out a way to survive. And I literally just that day said, I'm moving to the Outer Banks.
What motivates me to go out and shoot every day is this quote from Hans Christian Andersen: "The whole world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them, we call them ordinary things."
People have been coming here for 20, 30 years, and they've never seen the sky. And they had no idea this was right there in their backyard.
I think a lot about the Eden story, metaphorically, for what could have been, not what is, where humans were in harmony with the natural world. And so when I come out into the field with my lens, what I'm looking for are glimpses of the Eden that might have been.
Photography, it all started for me back in late 90s. I was going and buying disposable cameras at Connor Supermarket and just going around and shooting photos of my friends.
My brother, James, gave me my first camera, little Fuji X100. I just started with that, and then it evolved. It like snowballed fairly quickly into just using that camera a lot, but like obsessively shooting everything around me, just daily life and all the people. I was sticking a camera in their face.
What was weird is I've always wanted to be a photographer, but I never owned a camera. So I started tent camping in Rodanthe, and I started kiteboarding and just going back and forth. And all of a sudden, it was in August that year, I was watching a storm go by, and I was just using my cell phone, and it clicked that I was like, you know, I'm never bored when I'm taking photos. I always love it. I'm gonna buy a camera.
My late husband, Pete, used to ask me, he said, well, what if you go and you don't get anything? And I used to say, well, honey, there's 100% chance of no photograph if I don't go.
Now I spend a lot of my time just every day documenting life on the Outer Banks, like what it's actually like to live here. And it's just become just an obsessive passion of mine.
Acock Brown was this photographer that would photograph life here on Hatteras Island, or the Outer Banks specifically, during the 1950s. If you look at some of his work, like, it's not pretty photos of Hatteras Island. It's like how truly Hatteras was in the 1950s. He wasn't coming in and photographing just pretty scenes. He was coming in and truly showing what it was.
There's like so many characters here and just so many aspects of life, and I just feel like I should capture it as much as possible.
My hope when people are looking at my photos of the Outer Banks is that there's some sort of connection for them, whether it's a landscape of a lighthouse or if it's a portrait of a local person. My hope is that there's some sort of relationship or memory they have from that location, or a memory from a person that they've met here.
One of my hopes in all the photography work that I do and the stories that I share is that folks will get inspired to go home and maybe look at the natural world around them in a deeper way.
So one of my favorite projects that I've been working on here in Dare County is the Hatteras Fisherman Project. Spent like 8 or 9 years riding out with commercial fishermen, just documenting their work.
I like to come in when there's at least enough light to see something and potentially, of course, to photograph something. So the very first thing I do is roll down both windows. And that way I can hear, I can see, my camera equipment and my body, for that matter, are acclimating to whatever the outside temperature is. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to meld myself into this place and into this atmosphere.
I think it was right before Memorial Day 2017, I learned about the Knights in Rodanthe House. So I crawled in the dunes at 4 o'clock in the morning, hoping no one would get me arrested. And I set my camera up and I took a photo of it. And it was just like, I was hooked. I was like, this is what I want.
Ray Matthews, closest thing I'll ever have to a brother. In my mind and thinking and heart, he was the master photographer here. Over 50 years worth of legacy. And he said that if you want to look for beauty, it's not hard to find here. And it's so true.
When I first started shooting photographs, for me, it was like all about getting like these pretty landscapes and, you know, pretty sunsets. But nowadays, for me, it's more about what this place truly is. And a lot of times it might not seem pretty to other people, but to me, there's some beauty there in those raw moments or in those ugly moments.
I literally had family in town, and we were on the beach at night, and I said, you know, I want to try something. If you'll just stand right there for a second. I set up the camera, and then I hit him with a flashlight, and then I let the camera go, and I'm like, I think I can do portraits with the Milky Way. And I've been working on that actual photograph for about 5 years now.
Instead of like just focusing on the beauty here, it's like, what do the peripherals look like? And so trying to spend a lot of time of like, all right, here's a dumpster in a parking lot that has like no fish written on it, and then there's a boogie board inside with a shark on it. It's like semi-ironic. It's like it's not a pretty photo. It's a photo of a dumpster. Like, it doesn't make sense. But to me, it's like, don't go and photograph the obvious.
I can come out here and there might be a mother bear foraging with cubs halfway back in the field, or a collared red wolf. The long lens shows me that. It will show me things that my eye just can't pick up, and show me details, and show me behavior. And I love that.
I really love the winter here. It's super raw, it's windy, it's usually nasty and cold. At the same time, it lends itself to making beautiful images. And it's not the typical image that you see. It's usually pretty miserable, but at the same time, like, you feel alive because you're bundled up, you're out there in the middle of it. There's nobody around, and you can really just enjoy this place for what it is.
This area is called a refuge because it provides critical habitat for wildlife, but honestly, it provides refuge for my heart and my spirit.
There's times where I can only get the Milky Way lined up for a 20-day period in the fall, and if it's cloudy those 20 days, it's gone forever. So I gotta be ready to get that shot when it's lined up with it. And once that shot's gone, it's gone. But boy, when you can catch it, it's absolutely amazing.
Most of the time, photographers talk about capturing images, about shooting wildlife. I prefer to say, I receive. I receive gifts and moments of presence, of wild animals and wild birds, of the land itself, of the light. I'm not capturing anything in the sense that I'm not trying to go out as a predator. I'm trying to come as someone saying, please, thank you.